Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our 2:30 streaming show. I'm Jamie French.
And I'm Robinson Miles. Now, as we get further into this Tuesday, we're covering a lot of developing stories right now, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Right now, an investigation is underway into what sparked a house fire on the south side of Evansville. Crews from 6 different firehouses were called to Taylor Avenue just before 10 this morning. Officials say smoke could be seen coming from the roof near the backside of the house.
Yeah, officials say finding the fire was challenging because the home had been added onto several times, so they had to peel back layers of construction to fight the hot spots. One person was inside but got out okay. Firefighters say one cat was rescued, but several others haven't been found yet. Fire investigators are on scene working to find out the cause, so we'll keep you updated.
Now, a 14 News update, big stuff coming out of Henderson right now. After 6 months of construction, the runway at Henderson City County Airport is back open for business. Now, leaders say the runway was extended 1,600 feet and the airfield lighting was updated. Right now, the airport is mostly used for business, private recreational travel, and flight training. The goal with these improvements is to attract larger and more planes to the area, which in turn, of course, creates more revenue for Henderson.
That's right, and we did send a crew out there to get you some new and improved video to give you a sneak peek of what that new runway and lighting looks like. Of course, we will show that to you tonight on 14 News.
Now, for our last headline here today, of course, we're looking forward to the final of this slate of end-of-year holidays, whether that's good or bad for you. But a reminder for you, if you plan on going out to celebrate New Year's Eve, Logan's Promise wants to make sure that you get home safe.
That's right, from 10 p.m. New Year's Eve to 3 a.m. New Year's Day, you can save $25 on a Lyft ride. This is for people who live in Gibson, Posey, Vanderburgh, and Warwick counties. You just have to use the code SAFERIDE2026 as one word right there on the little promo code spot on the Lyft app, then you'll get your discount. So very important that we ring in the new year safely.
There we go. My wife's been lobbying for us to go out for New Year's Eve. I said, well, I do the 10 o'clock news. I get home late. She said, well, that's before midnight. That works. So maybe I'll be out there.
You get 1 hour to celebrate,
There
Rob.
you go. Count it. Technically before the deadline. So there we go. We'll
That's
get to bring it in there. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we're covering a lot more news right now. Our teams are all over the tri-state, so be sure to check back in with us. 14 News at 4, 5, and 6. And then again tonight, another streaming only as we have more NBA basketball on NBC.
All right, do not go anywhere. Meteorologist Arden Gregory will be right back with your 14 First Alert forecast.
Stay informed on your local news and weather throughout the day by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows. At 8:30 a.m., get your First Alert forecast to plan the day ahead and catch up on the news that happened overnight with the 14 News Sunrise team. In the afternoon, get the latest headlines, forecasts, and a preview of the stories we're working on with the 14 First Alert streaming show at 2:30. And get an in-depth look at the 14 First Alert forecast so you're ready for the next big thing with the 14 First Alert weather show at 9 p.m. Watch the 14 First Alert streaming show that fits your schedule and works best for you. Streaming on your phone by downloading the 14 News app and the 14 First Alert weather app. On your smart TV by using the 14 News streaming app. And stream anytime on Facebook, YouTube, or on 14news.com. Stay connected and stay informed by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows on your favorite streaming devices.
Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory, and let's just start right off with this sort of breaking news we've got in the weather world. Let me move this microphone so you can see that a little better. Well, good grief, if it'll cooperate. There we go. Move that microphone out of the way. Okay, so This is a look at the tornado that we just got confirmed. So this earlier today, the National Weather Service did a survey in Gibson County. So this is just to the east of Cynthiana, going right along Highway 68 there into Hobstadt. And so they have now confirmed that there was an EF1 tornado that hit there. I was kind of in a rush to get this done before we got on the air here at 2:30. So I did just kind of throw all of the information from the National Weather Service onto this graphic. Let me take that full so that you can read along if you would like. So this was an EF1 tornado with peak winds around 100 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about 4.5 miles with a width of 50 yards. So this was a fairly small tornado, but a tornado nonetheless, and it did do some damage. This is the rest of the information from the National Weather Service, kind of their summary written in that paragraph down below there. It says a narrow tornado began about 5 miles west of Hobstadt along Highway 68, and you can tell from the track there, it went right along Highway 68 moving due east, ending on the southern edge of Hobstadt. Several barns were damaged, with one losing most of its roof, and a section of another barn was completely destroyed. A few homes lost shingles from their roof, and a few power lines and trees also sustained damage along the tornado path. So that was new just today. These are from the storms that happened Sunday night on December 28th. We were here tracking those. There was a tornado warning for much of the tri-state. We had these tornado warnings starting in Illinois and then kind of moving east there, and there has now been a confirmed EF1 tornado that happened Sunday evening on the southern end of Gibson County there, just along Highway 68 there coming into Hobstadt. An EF1 tornado. So that's kind of the big breaking news in the weather world today. Thankfully, our weather now is much quieter. We do have a few clouds overhead today. If I can get this to move forward, there we go. It's being a little slow on me today. We do have a few clouds overhead, but some sun breaking through as well. I do think we will see partly to mostly cloudy skies through the next few hours, but then we'll see some clearing again later in the night. It is not as windy out there today, which is good news. We've had that cold wind coming in from the northwest that brought us that dramatic drop in our temperatures Sunday into Monday. That cold front also what sparked that tornado in Gibson County. But now today, still a bit of a breeze, but it is dying down some, kind of a cool breeze coming in from the west today. Because it's not as windy and because we got a little sunshine, today is also not as cold as yesterday was. Still very chilly though. Temperatures sitting in the lower 30s for most of us. It's 31 right now in Mount Vernon, Evansville, Newburgh, Henderson, and Owensboro. And when you factor in that breeze, it does feel just a little bit colder than it actually is. Those wind chills sitting in the 20s right now, feeling like 23 in both Evansville and Owensboro right now. Moving forward through the rest of the night, our temperatures will drop back into the mid-20s under partly cloudy skies. That is cold, but not as cold as last night was. And really, that's pretty typical for this time of year. Mid-20s would be a very common low temperature for the end of the year. It's supposed to be this cold. And that's a trend you're going to see a lot in this forecast. It's actually going to be normal now moving forward with the rest of this week. Tomorrow we'll have a little bit of sun early, but I think it'll become mostly cloudy as the day goes on. Despite that though, the wind starting to let up and slowly change direction will still help warm us up. We'll have a light breeze coming in from the west-southwest tomorrow, not the northwest, the southwest. So that's actually helping to warm us up just a little bit. Highs will be in the lower 40s on Wednesday. Wednesday night, New Year's Eve, at midnight, our temperatures will probably be sitting somewhere in the low to mid 30s. So if you are going to be out celebrating on Wednesday night, make sure you're dressed for the cold because it is going to be pretty chilly out there. Then on New Year's Day, Thursday, partly cloudy with temperatures climbing into the upper 30s to near 40, which isn't too far off from where we should be this time of year. And we'll then see highs in the low to mid 40s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we'll tack on a few more degrees climbing into the low 50s then as we get into early next week. Now we will see some clouds kind of on and off throughout the week. Particularly Friday does look like it's going to be pretty cloudy. There's going to be a low pressure system down to the south. I don't think that rain is going to make it this far north, so I think we'll probably stay dry. but we will get caught up in the clouds from that. So Friday looks pretty cloudy. But aside from a few clouds, the weather's really pretty quiet over the next 7 days. We're not expecting rain or certainly thunderstorms of any kind. I know that's a question that Zach had in the comments. Hello, by the way, Suzanne. Thank you for commenting. Zach asking if there's any chance of severe storms next week in Evansville. Right now, through the entire next 7 days, I'm not seeing any chance of rain whatsoever. So certainly not expecting any thunderstorms. And I mentioned before, one of the things that I find exciting about this forecast is it's normal. We have not had a lot of normal weather here recently. So our temperatures typically this time of year, obviously we can have a pretty wide spread as we've seen just here recently, but normally our temperatures this time of year would top out in the low to mid 40s in the afternoon, then fall back into the mid to upper 20s at night. And that's exactly what we have in the forecast for the rest of this week. Highs ranging from the upper 30s to mid 40s, lows ranging in the mid to upper 20s through this week and into the weekend, then just a few degrees warmer than average as we start next week with highs in the lower 50s and lows in the low to mid 30s Monday and Tuesday. But I mean, we were in the 70s on Sunday, so 50s doesn't sound like much of a warm up anymore, does it? It's all about perspective. Moving forward, the extended outlook for the second week of January, going from January 7th through the 13th, does show a trend towards slightly above average temperatures, so maybe seeing those 50s continuing there, with near average precipitation, maybe some wetter than normal weather off to our west, but again, not expecting a real active weather pattern in general. The weather for the first week, maybe 2 weeks of the new year, looks like it's going to be fairly quiet, just kind of average temperatures, 40s, maybe some 50s, not a whole lot of rain in the forecast, fairly quiet. And you know what? We've earned that because we have not had a quiet year and we haven't had a quiet month either. Looking at the month of December, it has been a wild ride. The first half of the month was so cold. In fact, on the 14th, we had a high of just 15 degrees. But then just later that week, we climbed into the upper 50s. And the second half of the month now has been much warmer than normal. I mean, from Tuesday to Sunday of this past week, nearly a full week of highs in the 60s and the 70s at the end of December. That is not normal. Then we obviously had that dramatic drop Sunday night into Monday. You may be thinking, I don't remember it getting up to 39 yesterday. That was the temperature at midnight. So that's the official high for the day, but we never got into the 30s during the actual daylight hours yesterday. So that can sometimes be confusing. What I find interesting is the cold and the warm kind of evened each other out. So we also have not had a whole lot of rain this month. We've had a couple different rounds of some light snow and some storms. The storms on Sunday night put down just under ½ an inch of rain in Evansville. But when you look at the month, just the hard numbers here, on the month as a whole, we are running a couple inches short on precipitation. It has been drier than average this December. We're still running a surplus on the year though. Overall, it has been a very wet year. We had a lot of flooding in the first half of the year where we got some pretty significant rainfall. Look at this temperature though. This is what I find so interesting. The average temperature is off by only about ½ a degree. So the cold start to the month and the warm end to the month kind of evened each other out. And if you were to look just at the average temperature for the month of December as a whole, you would think we had a pretty typical December, which was not the case. That's not what happened at all. For those who are curious about how the year stacks up as a whole, I did go through and calculate how many warnings we have had this year, and some months definitely stand out more than others. In 2025, we had a total of 54 tornado warnings that we covered here in the tri-state. 30 of those happened in April. So April's definitely the standout month. We had 5 just on Sunday. So that really bumped up the numbers right here at the end here for December. Obviously, not all of those warnings covered every single county in the tri-state, but many of them would cross county borders. So of those 54 warnings, 15 of them included Gibson County, 10 of them included Hopkins County. So those were kind of our two most frequently warned for tornadoes counties here in the tri-state. Looking at severe thunderstorm warnings, obviously you're going to have more of those. Gibson County, again, the standout there. We had 209 severe thunderstorm warnings this year. 72 of those happened in March, so that's the highest total month there for the year for thunderstorm warnings, and of those 209, 40 of those were for Gibson County. Second would be Pike County with 34, a lot of crossover there, and then next would be Ohio County. You had 31 total warnings this year for severe thunderstorm warnings. And then the first half of the year, we had a lot of flooding. Looking at flash flood warnings, we had a total of 51 flash flood warnings. That's very similar to the numbers we saw for tornado warnings. Most of those came in April as well, but July also a standout month. 12 flash flood warnings in July. Looking at the highest numbers there, Vanderburgh County actually had the most. Of those 51 flash flood warnings, 10 of those included Vanderburgh County, and then Ohio County would come in next with 9. So that's kind of a roundup of how many warnings we had across the tri-state this year. It has been an active year, especially the first half of the year. Then this fall, things really quieted down. You may remember we spent much of September into October in drought. We were tracking drought conditions across the tri-state for much of the fall months, but everything seems to have kind of ramped back up just right here at the end. We did have multiple warnings on Sunday night, including that confirmed tornado in Gibson County, an EF1 tornado that happened in Gibson County on Sunday night. So that's kind of a recap of our year in warnings. But again, moving forward, the end to 2025 and the start to 2026 looking much quieter. A few clouds, no rain, no storms, no snow, and just nice normal temperatures with highs in the 40s and lows in the mid to upper 20s for the next few days. All right. Hello, Carolyn. I'm not seeing any other questions in the comments, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll have your forecast tonight at 4, 5, 6, and streaming at 9. Have a good rest of your day.